Ned Stark was an honourable man, but not honourable decisions are the right decisions. And today we're going to look at some of Ned Stark's worst decisions in the series and some of the decisions that ultimately led to his demise. Welcome back, guys, to Fog Entertainment. We're looking at another Game of Thrones theory here. We've got a bunch of reasons, a bunch of decisions that Ned Stark made in the series that pretty much led to the downfall of Ned Stark and the Stark family. So we're on Screen Rant today. They have listed all of Ned's worst decisions in Season 1. We haven't seen the decisions yet. We're going to go through them one at a time. We're going to give our opinion on whether they were a bad decision or a good decision or somewhere in between. And by the end, I guess we'll sum up just how much of a honourable but fucking naive, bad decision-making man that Ned Stark was. So with that said, let's just get straight in. Well, what's your thoughts on Ned Stark before we get into it? I like Ned Stark, my favourite character in Season 1.
Naive, delusional fool.
You're a fool.
He is a fool.
Oh, King Robert called him a fool. Takes a fool to know a fool, so they say.
No, you know what? Well, I actually think it's fucking incredible he got to the age he is being like that. I mean that.
Maybe it's because he just lived in Winterfell and there's nobody there and, you know, he's surrounded by walls and shit, so he was safe. Anyway, let's see. Not telling Robert the truth. Not telling King Robert the truth about his children was one of the biggest mistakes Ned Stark made. Well, he discovered it was an inopportune moment. He still could have brought it up, even when Robert found himself on his deathbed after being mauled by a boar. King Robert was not dead yet, and when Ned had the chance to speak to him, instead he let the king write a letter leaving Ned in charge, and allowed him to die without knowing the truth. Well, this seemed like mercy to his old friend. Dismissing this letter was as easy as Cersei ripping it up. And had the king known his supposed children weren't his own, he might have acted in a way that would have further solidified Ned as Hand of the King. Thoughts on that? Do you think that was a bad decision?
Of course it was. That was the biggest mistake he did. I mean, he made a lot of mistakes, but if he told Robert, he'd have been alive.
Ned, you can argue that Ned just didn't want to basically destroy his dying friend's life by admitting that, you know, your wife's been unfaithful, these children aren't yours, etc. And he thought that by getting that bit of paper, by getting the king's signature, that was somehow going to hold. And like once the king was dead, I think it's a little bit naive for Ned to just suggest that he was going to walk in there, present this bit of paper to Cersei, and she was going to honour it.
Yeah.
Just because there was the king's stamp on it. I mean, I get it. Very honourable, and Ned King, I'm sure, would have honoured it because it had the king's stamp on it, but Cersei isn't Ned Stark.
He probably thought, here, this works in Winterfell. Why is it not working here?
What's your man called? What's the guy called?
The old fighter.
The old fighter. What's his name?
I had the stamp of the king, my lord.
I mean, I think if he was in charge, he'd have probably honoured it because he thought the king's stamp was worth something, but...
Yeah, but that's what we talked about in the Robert fit. It's like, when you're the king, it's like your word go. I know Cersei's one that ripped it up, but... Like, no one... I know he said, that's the king's stamp, my lord.
We have a new king now.
Apart from Ned, right, and his wee group, no one's going to take this bad. Like, even though, like, I'm not saying the Mountain's got a conscience, but see, like, say the Hound or other people
Barris and Selmy, that's it.
See all these people that are there, right? Say they're like, holy fuck. They just have to get in line, that's the reality, because if one of them steps out, the rest of them...
Well, even he did. I mean, he didn't really agree with her ripping it up, but at the end of the day, he was still willing to take Ned Stark there and then.
Exactly, so bear that in mind.
Bringing his daughters to King's Landing. Well, it was impossible for Ned to refuse King Robert's offer to be anointed Hand of the King. His daughters could have stayed behind in Winterfell. Though Sansa was betrothed to Prince Joffrey, she was not yet of age and therefore could have stayed at home. Though Ned chose to follow traditions and what was expected of him, there was no denying the capital was a dangerous place both for his daughters and had quite interesting storylines and had the potential to be intriguing characters in the Jon Snow spin-off, but they may have endured less suffering had they remained in the north. Their fate may have still been dark at Winterfell, but they wouldn't have had to face Cersei's ruthlessness. I agree. The guy went to King's Landing knowing that Jon Arryn was likely snuffed out and that there was foul play involved.
He decides to bring his entire family.
And he thought it was a good idea to take his daughters into that environment.
No, but see, when he knew he was going to call out the Lannisters without giving the information to Robert, he should have been like, this could go sideways, I need to get those two out of here. What did he do? Nothing.
Nah, this was a
He left it too late. He left it like 10 minutes before the whistle went.
I mean, this was a mistake. I mean, yeah, at one point he did try and send them home.
But it was too late.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, Ned, you talk about family and honour. You jobbed him out. Could have ended much worse.
Yeah, using his position, Ned Stark was loyal to King Robert, but he didn't seem to fully grasp the power of his position as Hand of the King. While he did not have the power to overrule the King's demands, he could have persuaded his old friend to put people on the council who were trustworthy. After Robert's death, he had the opportunity to use his position to gain the power of the guard and separate Cersei from her impressionable child king. However, his honour and lawfulness allowed his judgment to cloud his ability to use his power to keep control and his head. Wait, did they not? Wait, but he didn't seem to fully grasp the power of his position as Hand of the King. While he did not have the power to overrule the King's demand, he could have persuaded his old friend to put people on the council who were trustworthy. After Robert's death, he had the opportunity to use his position to gain the power of the guard and separate Cersei. Isn't that what he tried to do?
Yeah, he tried to do it, but then the guard jobbed out because they went.
Unless they mean that perhaps he should have done it gradually or something, or
gradually would have been. He had to do it. He had to do it abruptly. He couldn't do it gradually.
I definitely don't agree with that reason, because that's pretty much the first thing he did when Robert was dead.
Screen rant, you got it wrong. You got it wrong.
Following in Jon Arryn's footsteps, when Ned reached King's Landing, it didn't take him long to realise the death of the former King of the Hand, Lord Arryn, wasn't due to natural causes. This led him to begin investigating the reason for the Hand's untimely death. However, in doing so, he began investigating the same secrets in the capital that cost Lord Arryn his life in the first place. Instead of investigating things discreetly, he had the help of different people within the castle that were only loyal to themselves. This was definitely a bad decision. I mean, yeah, he basically did the same thing that the last guy died for.
Yeah, we don't learn for that, Ned.
And again, trusting people in King's Landing, it wasn't just not a good idea.
No, it's not. I mean, how can your whole purpose to go was like kind of to see what happened to Jon Arryn, and then you just do the exact same thing he did?
Nah, it's just a vicious cycle, isn't it? Really.
Yep.
Yeah, that was a bad mistake there from Ned. Trusting Littlefinger. When he was investigating the death of Jon Arryn, he trusted many people he didn't know well. Littlefinger was a close friend to his wife Catelyn, and therefore Ned thought he could trust the man to help. However, Littlefinger was the evilest villain in Game of Thrones, and while he didn't try to usurp any thrones or murder a monarch, he had no problem backstabbing whoever he needed to get what he wanted. Trusting the man who was in love with his wife was one of the most fatal mistakes. I agree, because A, you don't know this guy. B, if he's got loyalties to anybody, he's probably got loyalties to the king and the king's family and the King's Landing, because he seems to be money orientated, and that's going to be more profitable for him. And C, if he is in love with your wife, like, wouldn't that be a perfect opportunity for him to get revenge? He probably,
that's exactly what he did.
If he loves your wife, then he probably resents that you have her, and he doesn't. So yeah, for me, I never really understood the whole trusting Littlefinger thing. Plus, he was in charge of the coin, so therefore, if the crown was in debt, you've got to blame this guy. So yeah, I just don't think he was trustworthy. I wouldn't have trusted him, and
but see,
Ned Stark did. But then again, Catelyn kind of says you can trust him. But how would Catelyn know? She knew him years ago. Who cares?
Is Littlefinger not lucky though that Robert wasn't more pissed off about the debt situation, considering it's mostly this guy's fault? Because is that not like a hangable offence, like shafting, getting the crown in debt?
I don't know. He basically pointed the finger. He says the king points and the coin master pays or something.
We need money. Come on, Little. Get the big finger out.
Confronting Cersei. There were many dangerous people Ned encountered in King's Landing, but threatening Cersei and her children was one of the most reckless decisions he made. When Ned told Cersei he knew her children were not the king's, he was attempting to be honourable and give her a chance to flee with her children before they all ended up executed. However, amidst Ned's mercy, he failed to recognise how capable Cersei was in taking care of herself. When he confirmed he knew about her relationship with her brother, there was no way she would have let him live with that knowledge. Yeah, again, I don't think it was honourable trying to give Cersei a chance to escape and get away with her children, but he basically just refilled his hand. It's like you're playing poker and you've got a pair of bullets, 2 aces, and you just show the fucking person next to you. Yeah, do you want to fold? Because look what I've got.
That's what he did.
you know, like, what the hell? It's like, you just don't do that. So, Ned wouldn't be a good poker player.
No, he wouldn't.
I reckon he'd be showing everybody his hand.
His poker face wouldn't work.
His hand? King of the hand?
Hand of the king, showing his hand.
Nice pun there. Anyway, yeah, I agree. That was a bad decision from Ned. Dismissing Renly's plan. It was a shame to see Ned die by the end of the first season, but he did have a chance to fight for his own survival. Following the death of his brother King, Renly confronted Ned and proposed that they separate Cersei from Joffrey and hold the new king hostage. While it wasn't the most honourable thing, capturing the bastard-born king would have ensured Ned's survival. However, his belief that Stannis Baratheon was the one true king and trusting the wrong people inevitably led to Ned's capture. Had he worked with Renly when Robert died, he may have survived. I mean, he might have, but again, he didn't believe that Renly was a true king, and I don't think he respected Renly either way. We've not met Stannis yet, but Stannis is a guy that is fights in the front lines and commands his armors.
Up the ass.
Yeah, so, I mean, I don't think Ned was against his idea, and had it been Stannis Baratheon that proposed it, Ned might have went along with it, but this would have basically been Ned. This would have been Ned basically saying that he believes that Renly is the heir to the throne, or the true king.
This guy almost would have been worse than Joffrey.
And I don't think he wanted to he didn't agree with that, so yeah. Confronting Joffrey, not many people get to experience Joffrey firsthand, but Ned spent enough time with the young heir to know he was fell and selfish, yet he somehow thought Robert's dying command would stop the boy taking control of King's Landing. One of the best episodes in Game of Thrones is the final episode in Season 1. When Ned Stark died, it turned the tables on the original plot and let the fans know to expect the unexpected. When he confronted Joffrey and Cersei in the throne room, he left himself vulnerable to the mercy of a twisted new monarch. I mean, I think the final episode's the worst episode of Season 1.
Yeah, they kind of talk about that, though, and then talk about the previous episode, about when Ned died.
Whereas I think the episode where Ned... I think episode 7's one of the best. Like, that's when King Robert dies. That's when Ned goes in and confronts and gets arrested in the end.
I think episode 10's a very flat finale.
You get the double betrayal. For me, yeah, they're talking about all the things that made it good, but that happened in episode 7 and 8 and shit. It didn't happen.
Screen rant, you need to get up to date.
Yeah, confronting Joffrey. I don't think it was really Joffrey. I think it's more Cersei at this point. I don't think Joffrey's really making decisions on his own. He's probably doing what his mum tells him.
Absolutely.
But who else is supposed to...
He's not going to know the ins and outs. It's the same reason when Joffrey killed him. He thought the guy was legit bad.
Yeah, not going back to Winterfell when he had the chance. When Ned refused the plot to kill Daenerys Targaryen, he'd resigned his hand to the king and planned on leaving the capital. However, Robert told him to stay on and never defy his choices again. It may have been foolish to refuse the king and ride back home, but when Robert died and Ned chose to support Stannis Baratheon's claim to the throne, he should have escaped to the safety of the north instead of confronting all of his enemies in their own place of power. Had he taken the couple of chances he had to return home, he may have played a more intricate role in the wars to follow. I mean, I agree that he could have returned to Winterfell, and he could have told Stannis that, I believe I support you I support your claim to the throne.
I'm the man.
And then he's still got the same information, doesn't he? He's still got King Robert's.
Yeah.
He's still got King Robert's dying wish. He's still got his stamp of approval and whatnot. I just don't think it was a good idea to be outnumbered. And again, yeah, he had the city's watch, but it's in King's Landing, you know what I mean?
I like Ned Stark, but it's not one of those deaths that I'm raging about, because I feel like he caused it himself. It's not like he had all this information, he's about to reveal it and they killed him.
But that would be like going to Winterfell and recruiting recruiting 1,000 soldiers from Winterfell and expecting them to stand by your side as you challenge Ned.
Yeah.
It's just not very smart, is it?
No, it's not, unless you've got some serious dirt on Ned Stark.
No, it's just not very smart. And that's it. There you go. End of the screen rant. End of Ned Stark's worst decisions. You can see why he died. Made a lot of foolish decisions. Yeah, being honourable is a great thing, but I mean, you can argue. See, once you get into a position of power, maybe you can't be honourable.
Yeah, it's one way or the other.
Did Jax not say that the gavel corrupts?
And the hand of the king, monument thing, corrupted.
Is it fair to say that, like, for example, Jax Taylor, Clay Morrow, if they were honourable with every decision they made, the club would just fold or they would die? Or
yeah, of course. I don't think... If you're honourable, I think honourable is weakness. I do, and in the world of criminality, I know this isn't really criminality, but in these days it kind of is criminality, like half the stuff they're doing. But with Ned, what do you think? Do you honestly think with Ned's death, it's like, oh, you feel bad for him, or do you feel like, he dug it himself? Because I feel like he dug it himself.
No, I feel bad for him because he was honourable, but it's like, you just had so many other choices you could have made.
He could have, but he didn't make those choices, and his naivety got the best of him.
Alright, that's it, guys. Catch you in the next one. Let's know your thoughts down below. Ned Stark could have played it so differently. Could still be alive. He could have been in the fucking Jon Snow sequel had he played his cards right, but no.
When they cast Jim Beam, it's not going to last long. That's his gimmick. He dies.
Sean Bean?
Right, Jim Beam the whiskey. Big Sean.
Oh. Anyway, guys, that's it. Till next time. Peace.